the one that Carlos? Oh, is that the one that Carlos Santana was playing in?
Supposed to have.
I guess he was one of them. Right? Not that they, in the middle of the concert, they had to cancel because of the storm.
Well, they knew it was coming.
Yeah, but you know how people from North, I mean, you know, you are from there, so hey.
Yeah.
So Carlos Santana got canceled?
Yes. According to Armando, he was playing in a New York City concert.
Yeah.
Oh, and because of the storm?
Yes.
Yeah. In the middle of the storm, they canceled the concert.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good reason.
Yeah.
I guess they were having like 5 and 6 foot storm surges, just like north of New York City and stuff.
Yeah. I think Rhode Island was hit pretty hard too.
Yeah. That was kind of a big deal. You know, those folks up there don't get that very often.
No, that's why they didn't believe it was coming. So
Right. Well, you know, all they have to do is come to the South. We get that fairly frequently.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys hear about the flash flooding in Tennessee yesterday?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was incredible because it's just like out of nowhere. So.
Yeah, that was not part of any storm or anything. It just happened.
Well, it was related to rainfall and stuff that had happened earlier, but mainly elsewhere. And
right.
Yeah. And so that took them by complete surprise. So yeah. Anyway, you guys notice anything different?
Background, you're in a different room.
You're someplace else.
You have a gallery.
Well, actually, I'm not. I'm not in someplace else. I've just rearranged the studio.
Oh,
okay.
I guess somebody told you it's time for you to organize this room, Charles.
No, actually, nobody did. It was me.
It looks nice.
Yeah, no, it does. It looks, it's, well, 1/5 of the studio looks nice. The rest of it is chaos at this point. But we're working on it. So we're, you know, little by little, we're kind of digging through stuff that we probably should have done about 5 or 6 years ago when we moved in here, but we're getting around to it. So that's okay. Anyway, everybody doing okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody got washed away or anything like that, you know, over the weekend?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a whole 11 of us here, man. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have Sandra Choi. Yeah, I don't know her. Hey, Sandra. How you doing? Talk to us if you want, but she's muted. Eloise is here. Bernice, how you doing, Bernice?
Fine.
Richard made it. Yay! Richard, and well, Richard was here. Oh no, Richard, here now. He just went away. I don't know.
Richard's here.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I found him. Okay. Naomi's here. Armando.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Naomi?
Great. I thought you were going to send us those little cheat sheets for color and value.
You know, I am. I've got to go dig them out and find them.
Oh, you have to find it.
Yes. They are buried somewhere here on this computer.
Sounds like my house.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about houses here in just a second. Yeah, because I spent the weekend kind of, digging through stuff. Anyhow, we're going to jump into this because we got a fair amount of ground to cover, and I guess I'll start with me, okay? And since we've already kind of brought up the fact that it looks like I'm in a new place, but I'm not. What I did this weekend was I went through the studio, and I did a little organization. You got to do that every once in a while.
Hey, Rachel.
And so what I did, and I'm rightly proud of myself actually about this. What I did is, I basically unstacked a lot of stuff that had been stacked up forever.
And then I went
through and I organized my paintings and everything else in here that I could get my hands on. So we're starting with the good part. And so this is my stack of small paintings. Now, these are of undetermined status, okay? They're partially started, kind of in mid-process, complete. We don't know whether or not we're going to finish them or whether we're going to paint over them at this point, okay? But that's my stack of, you know, stuff.
Paint over those beautiful paintings.
Yeah, some of them. Some of them will go away, you know?
Why?
It must be a difficult decision.
Why would you do that? Why not sell them?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, some of them I end up giving away at Christmas, you know, like I did at Benson. I'd bring in a box of paintings and, you know, everybody would get one, right?
Well, I want
That's
I
kinda-
want that with the 3 fishes on it. I'll be by your house on Christmas Eve, okay?
Yeah, but that was my traditional thing to do at Benson, you know, with little studies and plein air pieces and stuff that, you know, I mean, I wasn't
Charles.
going to sell them in the gallery.
Charles,
Yeah.
I said I'll be by your house on Christmas Eve to get that
I
one
hear
with
you.
the 3 fishes.
I hear you. Well, by that time you'll be so good, you know, that you won't need to come by my house. You'll be doing your own work. You'll be in love with what you're doing. Anyhow, so there's my new. That's where I'm sitting right now. That's my new office. So I've moved myself over to the corner where the paintings were. Is where I used to sit. So I, you know, cleaned it up, got it organized, hung a bunch of my artwork, and you know, these are like little what are these, 6 by 8. I got like 30 or 40 frames for all these little 6 by 8 paintings that I was doing, you know, as studies and plein air and stuff. And so I framed probably about 40 paintings this size, and then I've got my color charts. And this palette right here, it's, you know, my palette. But what I did is I mixed the color formulas for Dan Green. Everybody remember who Dan Green is? You know, he just passed away this year, actually. But he was the guy who did the video and, you know, like on color theory. And he really was like probably the world's authority on, you know, color for artists. You know, great guy. You know, but his other advantage was that if you ever watched his videos, it would cure your insomnia. You know, he would put you to sleep in about 20 minutes. So it took me a while to get through those, but you know, it was well worth it. Anyway, this is his standard process for portrait painting. And he'll go into the studio and every morning he'll mix this. So he'll mix these runs of these mixtures, you know, to create flesh tones. And he'll have that ready mixed so that as he's working, he can look at the model and determine, you know, what those ranges are on that model's, you know, particular face in that lighting, and use these mixtures and maybe modify them slightly, but you know, it's a great way of working. It's just very time consuming, you know, to have to do that. But hey, you know, it pays off. Yeah, there's just a kind of another angle of the corner there. And then, yeah, I added a little light, and this is my still life platform right here. If you don't know what that is, it's a, you know, it's a little bust that hangs on the wall, but I've put a little shelf on it, and that's where I set up my still lifes. And so it's right, if I'm sitting in my studio chair, this board right here is right at my eye level. It's not below my eye level. It's not above my eye level. It's right at my eye level. And so much like the Dutch and Flemish painters of like the 14 to 1500s, when they were doing these really, really elaborate, beautiful still lifes, that's how they set up their still lifes, so that their still life, you know, the level of the platform that it was on was really right at their eye level. And so they were always seeing, you know, the objects, you know, in the same place. They weren't looking down on them. They weren't looking up at them, you know, right there.
Are
And
those
then
pieces
are,
beautiful?
you know, again, some of my little studies. This particular canvas right up here is a little 5x7. And, you know, I talk about a lot of times when I'm getting ready to do a painting or when I'm thinking about something, I'll do like a little value sketch like this one, or I'll do a little color study like this one. You know, just to work it out, you know, just to kind of think through the process and look at the sort of the arrangement of color and value. And then that kind of tells me, you know, whether I want to pursue it further, right? If I can kind of work it out at this stage. So that's, you know, that's really important. I know a lot of you don't take the time to do value studies and things like that, but it would greatly enhance your work, you know, to begin to figure this stuff out before you jump into it too deeply. And then this is, I won't show you the chaotic part, but this is the part that I'm proudest of. You see all those canvases down there? See?
Jeez.
Yeah, they're all stacked and neat and all in one place. And my sketchbooks are down there. And I've got it broken down to all the mixed media pads are here. The, you know, toned drawing pads are right here. I think this is all watercolor. And this is all just regular drawing paper type stuff. And then these are, you know, the different canvases and sizes that I have that, you know, are unused at this point. But, you know, if I need something, I can just go over there and grab it. And of course, this is the stack of the larger paintings that I'm working on, you know, right now. And a couple of my actual working palettes that I use, you know, to go back and forth on. And so, so that was my weekend, you know, in, you know, just cleaning, organizing. And sometimes,
Very productive.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, sometimes you got to do that because it sort of gives you energy, you know, to kind of clean things up and to get it organized so that you're ready to go. You know, you're ready to get in there. You know where things are, and you know, you don't have to go through this process of hunting for stuff all the time. And so, you know, it's beneficial at times.
And you do start collecting a lot of stuff once you start this course, these art courses. You know, you like, where did all this junk come from? So you do have to organize it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. After a while, you know, it's like anything in life. You know, it just gets overwhelming, and you know, and so you just got to go like, yeah, you know, it's probably about time that I can clean this up. And so, you know, that's okay. You know, you lose, you know, you may lose a day, you know, in time or so, or maybe a couple of days, but it, in the long run, it pays you back because it speeds up the process. You know, you're not always hunting for stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, I mean, looking for things, trying to work, you know, just trying to gather up stuff to get ready, to get started, you know, to start a painting or something like that. Sometimes, you know, you can kill so much time doing that. You know, it's like organizing images and stuff on your computer. A lot of people don't do that. They just kind of put them in a folder. But I spend a lot of my time, you know, on the computer going through and organizing photographs so that if, you know, if I want to get back and let's say I want to do, you know, a painting of the Chattahoochee River or something like that, I can go to a folder and I've got all of my photos from all the different times that I've gone down to the river, and different shots of that, or valley, or anywhere else I've been. Same thing with models, portraits that I've painted, things like that. I've got all the reference photos organized, so I can go back and I can find that person's face or something like that if I'm so inclined to want to do something like that. And John,
Yes.
I did something I told you I wasn't planning on doing.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept looking at that plein air piece I did a couple of weeks ago and going, that really needs help. It was a little muddy, and so so I did. I went back in and I cleaned it up a little bit.
I think I remember that house.
Huh?
I think I remember that house.
Oh, it's beautiful. I remember that. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a big
Me too.
improvement.
I do too. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember.
that is beautiful now.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Yeah,
I don't like the little round hole in the yard somehow. What is that?
Oh, well, there used to be a tree there, but it died.
Oh,
So it's
put
pine.
some flowers or something.
Well, yeah, they hadn't gotten around to that, and they probably won't, because this isn't really a residence. There's a bunch of businesses in there, in this old house. It's right here along Atlanta Road in Smyrna, but the house had such wonderful character to it, and the trees around it were just amazing. I mean, there are these 300 or 400-year-old oak trees that are just enormous, and the branches, I mean, they shade probably like 70 to 80% of the yard. It's a nice place to go paint. And even on like a really, really hot summer day, like the day that I went out, because of those big oak trees, there's always a breeze under it, and you could be outdoors and painting and very comfortable there. And it was nice. It was a nice day. It's a nice way to get out. But, one of the things that I did was I wasn't getting like enough separation between, the trees that were closer to the house and the trees that were back here in the background. And when I was out there, I kept noticing, how blue, that area was looking, and I just didn't get it in the painting. And so I went back and, pushed that both lighter and cooler in temperature to separate what's closer to us and what's further away, and the same thing kind of up in here, again, kind of adjusted some of the values back a little bit, and then basically totally repainted the sky, because the sky had just unintentionally had kind of turned to mud, and so brightened that up, and then I brightened up the grass as well, because it just wasn't, it didn't quite carry off the effect of intense sunlight hitting it. It just wasn't yellow enough at that point. So really kind of pumped up the color in there. Other than that, I mean, the house itself, I pretty much so left alone, other than I repainted these windows because they were kind of wonky. And I think I changed the color and the value on the side of the chimney here a little bit. But other than that, it's kind of
the chimney seems a little more predominant than it was.
Yeah. It was kind of gray and kind of washed out. Yeah. So, at any rate,
But it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out okay, and so again, this is probably, I think it's like about a little 11 by 14 size painting, and it started off really as about a 2.5 3 hour painting, and so with the time that I put in the studio just cleaning it up, it's probably now about a 5 hour painting, in total. So it was worthwhile, and it was good to go back and look at it again and kind of work out some of the things, redesign a few of the things to make them actually work better. So I was happy with that. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of fess up.
All right.
You know, play honest. Okay. Anyway, and then I've got one more thing to share with you that I've been doing, and then we're going to move on. We're going to look at two artists, you know, women artists who are really interesting, you know, people, and I've been friends with them on Facebook now for probably about 5 or 6 years, and kind of following them. But they've got interesting sort of stories. Anyway, but remember the guy we looked at last week who was doing the monochromatic paintings? Mark Lukowicz, he was Polish, I believe. You know, but he was working in the Netherlands. Okay, can everybody see that patch of paint?
So the cat, the beach, and the other thing.
You see what?
The cat, the beach, and the other thing.
Oh, well, okay,
So
that's
now I got this thing. Yeah.
This is the other thing.
It look like a ground.
yeah. Okay, what it should be like a panel with like gray tones, black and white paint spatters and stuff on it.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, good. All right, we're all on the same page. Yay! Okay. Anyway, we looked at Mark's work, and you know, we were talking about the paint surface and how he kind of preserved the brush marks and stuff. So I've been doing some experiments, and these are little, like, you know, 4x5 or, you know, 5x5 little pieces of masonite, and here, I'll show them to you. You know, that's the backside of it. And it's, you know, just a little, you know, like, it's not wood, you know, it's a wood product. But it's a good painting surface. But I have a bunch of these. And I've cut them down to a small size like that, just so that I could kind of play with stuff, you know, experiment with it, see how it worked.
Doesn't look smooth.
No, this is the backside of it. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, the front side is pretty smooth until you know, put gesso. So what I did with this was I ended up putting like about 8 to 10 coats of gesso on this. And, you know, I would lay it down sort of at first, like in one direction, and then I would change the direction. And I just built up the paint surface. And you can see, you know, pretty clearly, you know, that it's a fairly toothy, kind of rough surface, right? And after that, then I took, and this is acrylic, you know, this is acrylic gesso to begin with. And then after that, I took black acrylic paint, okay, just plain old black acrylic paint, and I watered it down, you know, way down, and I just put a wash, you know, on the surface, and I let it sit there probably for about 5 minutes, and then I just took a paper towel and I just sponged it up, you know, so it gave the paint a little bit of time to sink into the gesso, and you get these kind of mottled, kind of uneven areas in here as a background. And again, it kind of enhances a lot of the paint texture. See how it kind of settles in and it brings out kind of the peaks and the valleys in the paint. And so it gives you this really kind of toothy, interesting surface, you know, to paint on. And it, as a background, you know, for your painting, it also gives you the ability, if you're using transparency and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff is still there and will come through. So yeah, there's the panel, you know, and again, you know, this is just a small little sample. And as you can see, they're pretty thin, right? Well, I did, what, about 8 of those? You know, just prepared about 8 of them. And then I did a few little experiments, right? And so the first experiment was, you know, I had a photo of a friend of mine who, you know, I really liked the photo. And so this is kind of like a little notan you know, sketch. And it's just, you know, black and white. And again, you know, I'm letting that surface kind of show through in areas. And I'm not trying to cover everything up, right? And so, you know, just working out a composition, you know, just an idea. So I did a figure, you know, I did a landscape, you know, of an old barn, you know, with some trees and stuff around it. And then, you know, and then I started with, you know, just a face. And that's kind of a close-up. The whole composition is that. You know. And again, you know, it's just black and white acrylic. This is not oil paint. And, you know, this one I didn't go that far on. But, you know, but I put down just enough, you know, to get a sense of a figure there. Now, what I've done since then, I haven't photographed it, is I've started putting some colored glazes over this. And I'll share those with you later. But it's
How large are these again?
oh, these are like, you know, 5 inches by 5 inches.
Oh,
Yeah, they're just tiny little.
beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you know, the contrast, and you see even with the acrylic paint going over it, you see how a lot of the textured stuff begins to come through in places in the skin tones.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting approach. And you know, am I getting the exact effect that he had? No, I'm not. But hey, you know, I'm playing. You know, I'm trying to figure things out and see how he got to where he is. You know, with the effects that he's got, and you know, along the way, you know, I may not work it out perfectly, but you know, I may find something out along the way that is usable. And so, you know, that's the, you know, the purpose of sometimes, you know, you don't have to start something and always plan on it being finished, right? That's not always the goal. Sometimes it's just to kind of come up with something different, you know, to find things that you enjoy and like the process that feel kind of natural to you, that you can begin to sort of incorporate, you know, into your own artwork. So again, you know, this was kind of inspired by another artist. And again, you know, just trying to figure out their process, you know. And the only way that you can really do that is you've got to pick up a brush and some paint and some tools and start playing and see, you know, can you get some kind of effect similar to what they're doing with the media and thing that you're using, right? Because you may never be able to figure out exactly the media they're using or the process that they're going through, because, you know, a lot of artists, you know, aren't going to tell you that stuff, right? And, you know, we can be a little bit sheepish about sharing recipes and processes and stuff. So, you know, just every once in a while. Okay. But anyway, you know, hopefully, you know, that will kind of inspire you guys to, you know, get out the paint and play with it a little bit. Okay. So, like I said, I wanted to introduce you to two different artists. You know, the first artist that I want to introduce you to, her name is Martha Crawford. And she's a really interesting lady. She's got some beautiful artwork. But I think more even than her artwork, it's kind of her process, but it's also the fact that she's a phenomenal photographer. I mean, she really is very good. You know, she could probably make a career just as a photographer, you know. And she does a lot of florals, portraits, you know, a good variety of things. And just another feather in her cap, you know, she's a devotee of one of my favorite artists, which is Richard Schmid, who, again, you know, we lost two of probably the best American artists who have ever, you know, been around. Dan Green and Richard Schmid both passed away this year. and you know, unfortunately, but she evidently attended a few of his workshops, studied with him, and you know, really, you know, in many ways, you can see a lot of his influence in her work, you know, in her brushwork and, you know, just color choices and process as well. So I'm going to share those and we'll kind of go through. So you'll see a mixture of photos, like reference, you know, photos and stuff, and her paintings. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about all of them. Let's see. Yeah. Now we're going for the cat. Okay, Armando. You see the cat?
Yes, nice. That's a cute kitty.
Yes, you know, something about these lady artists. They have to have studio kitties. I don't know why. They just do, you know. But yeah,
Just furry and just soft. This furry and this soft, you know.
yeah. Well,
We
yeah,
like furry and soft.
yeah. But I think they have kind of a calming effect too. You know?
Yeah.
You know, they have kind of a nice energy, and you know, they just kind of calm things down. And the thing about Martha, I don't know her personally. You know, I've never really actually met her. Like I said, I've kind of, you know, communicated with her a couple of times back and forth on Facebook over the last 5 or 6 years, and looked at her work and really like, you know, kind of a lot of the stuff she does. But I kind of get the sense that she's one of these personalities. She's a little intense, you know, just a little intense. So, you know, she's really kind of into this whole kind of Zen, gotta kind of mellow out kind of thing here, you know. And I'm okay. I get it. You know, I get it. I know what that's about. So at any rate, so yeah, that's the studio kitty. And that's not one of her shining pieces of photography and stuff, but you know, but she does a lot of nature photography and stuff. And
I like him sitting inside the frame, to tell you the truth.
oh yeah, that's
I like it, yeah. I think that's too cute.
yeah, that's a typical cat thing. But you know, she takes these outdoor photographs of flowers and insects and animals and stuff, and they're just incredible, you know. And I've seen the camera that she works with, and it's like a telescope, you know. It's got this huge freaking lens on it, you know. But she takes some really beautiful photographs of things, you know. And so this is like an outdoor, you know, photo, and so, you know, she takes some really good reference photos, and you know, like I said, she does a lot of flowers and still life, and this is one of her still life setups that, you know, she photographed. And again, you know, it's you know, she's very thoughtful about, you know, when she uses the camera, and also, you know, how she kind of composes things. You know, I mean, it's an amazing photo of a dragonfly. You know, now she's down in, I believe she's in Florida. Is where she lives. But you know, really nice, you know, photography. Type stuff. And you know, the thing is, you know, being a good photographer also helps, you know, when you are trying to compose a painting, you know, understanding shapes and angles and things like that, and you know, doing it in the frame of a camera, and then taking that and transferring, you know, that same principle to a composition on a canvas. Okay. And so, you know, when you look at some people's photographs, they're like, you know, it looks like, oh, you know, they just kind of clicked a picture at home, right? Other people use a camera, and, you know, and it becomes, you know, a piece of art all in itself. And it's just what they focus on. It's the light, it's the composition, it's, you know, I mean, look, it's just trees, right? But the light was good, you know, the shapes of the tree, the perspective upward, you know. Again, it's you know, just being able to see stuff like that and capture it, you know, on a camera is, you know, not always easy.
You can certainly tell it's not her phone camera.
No. She's not using an iPhone. Okay. No, she's got a dedicated camera that she's, you know, she's serious. You know, when she goes out and takes pictures, she's serious about it, which is good. Good. You know, I mean, you know, I kind of do it haphazardly. You know, I've got the iPhone with me, and there you go. You know, but you know, like I said, she does some beautiful, you know, like nature photography stuff. And so, you know, she'll get a deer, and it will look like she's right there, but she was probably 300 yards away, you know, with that camera, and was able really, you know, to focus in without really, you know, affecting or disturbing, you know, the animal or his behavior.
You know,
Yeah.
she's aware of the colors she's looking at and all that, and how they contrast with each other.
Yeah. But also how she's focusing the camera, like it, you know, and you can see it in this, you know,
Yeah,
there's stuff back there, but she's really just focused, you know, she's got a very short focal range here. And it's really just on the subject. And, you know, we talk about this all the time, you know, in paintings, how you want to suggest that things are back there in the background. You don't necessarily have to have them sharp and detailed, because those sharp details interfere and compete, you know, with your focal point. And see, that's something that, you know, a lot of visual artists can learn from photographers, you know, and how to use, you know, selectively, you know, that tool of focus, you know, and being able to bring some things into sharp focus, some things have to be soft, right? You know, hard and soft edges, you know, we talk about that all the time. And you can do it with camera. You can also do it, you know, in your painting, see? So, like I said, you know, we could look at her photographs all day long, because she's got, you know, look at the light on the water, you know, against, and now, how many people think those birds are white?
Yes.
So I've been going to art classes. I know better than to ever say white.
Good, you've learned something here. Then.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, they are not white. Okay, find anything on those birds that even looks close to white, and you won't. Okay, and just for argument's sake, okay, look at the light areas of the water, and then look at the color on the birds, and tell me which is lighter. See, even the lightest area. Yeah, see, even the lightest area on that bird right there, that gets close to that, but it's not. See, it's.
But now, actually, if I were looking at that, I would say the bird has more blue light, and
Right.
the water has yellow-green light.
Yeah. This isn't even white. This is actually kind of a yellowy green. You're right. Yeah, and there's more of a blue influence on all of the different color mixtures. See, and she captured that, you know, in the photo very nicely. So sometimes it works in. Yep. Let's move on down here because I want to get down to her paintings. Well, here's a photo. This was in New York, and this is just two young girls, you know, up at the Empire State Building, and you know, they're from, well, the two girls were from Spain, and she didn't know them, but now she spent a lot of time in Spain when she was younger studying, and in fact, she's gone back there several times to you know, paint and to do workshops, things like that. This is all around. I think that's in Asheville. Oh God, it fell out of my head. What's the name of that big estate up there?
Biltmore.
Biltmore.
Yeah, Biltmore. Okay, yeah.
$60 to get in.
It's what?
$60 to get in.
Yeah, I've been there before.
That's a different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, than I've ever seen. Yeah.
But I'll tell you something, okay? Even if it is $60, it's well worth it. You know, I mean, if you want to go look at some paintings, they've got a collection of paintings there. In fact, I think they've got like 6 or 7 sergeants there. And they've
The
got,
house impressed me, but I didn't know about the paint at that time. But the furniture, nah.
well, even the furniture a lot of it was, you know, just about all of it was handmade, you know, by different craftsmen, you know, in the area. But, you know, beautiful stuff again. Okay. So enough of this. Let's get on down. You know, this is some of her flower photography. Again, you know,
Nice rose.
yeah, and you'll see those show up in her paintings if when we get down here to the bottom. All right, because we got to get past. So yeah, I guess we'll start about here. Okay, so there she is. You know, she's in her studio. What do you notice about what she's doing?
So she's putting some underpainting in.
Yes, yeah, and in fact, she's got a tone on the canvas, and then she's actually lifting paint out, right? You know, she's actually cutting into that wet paint, taking it away. You know, creating lighter values in there. And so the other thing I want you to notice that she's standing, which not everybody can do, and you know, for a long period of time. I understand that. But the other thing is, look at the length of her arm.
Yep. Standing back from the
That's
canvas.
right. Yeah, she's not hugging the canvas. She's not right up on top of it, so she can actually see what she's doing, right? And in fact, I think it was either her page, or it may have been this next artist's page. They had a foot. I just can't talk. A historic photo of Joaquin Sororia, who was a wonderful painter. And he had these brushes that were about 3 feet long. I mean, the handles on the brushes were literally like 3 feet long. So he could stay back, because he did these big canvases, so he could stay back and he could see, you know, what he was doing and not get too close, right? So I want to share this with you. This is she teaches painting, you know, and she does like a color theory workshop. And so, you know, she's like Richard Schmid, you know, she's real big into sort of analyzing a composition before she even starts to paint it. So she'll sit down and she'll look at, you know, a still life or a portrait or whatever, and she'll just start mixing colors, you know, randomly, and start putting those colors up there that she sees, right? And do a panel or a board like this, so that she has some idea of what the color families and the mixtures are going to be, you know, in that composition. And that's a really valuable step and a tool that a lot of people sort of neglect to do, but it can really, really radically change your artwork because you begin to get an understanding of not only the range of value, but you know, the level of intensity of the color, you know, in the composition. So, this is from one of her color theory workshops, and I've never had anybody do anything like that, have I? Right.
Thank goodness. No.
Well, if you've ever been at my class at Benson, usually either in acrylic or oil, this is the very first day of class. This is what we do. We do values and we do a color chart. Because, you know, I mean, you know, when I go into teaching a class, I don't know what each and every one of you know. I don't know how much experience you've had, and, you know, in mixing color or working with paint. And it's really valuable sometimes to just, you know, do something like this so that people get kind of, their fingers dirty and get there and start mixing some color and begin to figure out, how you combine color to create all these other colors. So again, this is, I think this is a really, really valuable lesson. And, I used to teach, well, I still do teach, color theory as well. And color is one of those things everybody worries about it. Everybody worries about it. It's like, well, I need to learn how to mix color better. Well, there's only one way to do that, and that is you got to study it. And the thing is, it's going to be a lifelong study, because when you start going down that rabbit hole, it's endless. You'll never stop learning about color, ever. I don't care how good of a painter you get, how adept you are at mixing and modifying colors, there's always more to learn. There really is. I'm still learning, and I've been doing this, 50 years. So, now this goes way back. This is 2012 when she painted this, okay? So when you look at it, okay, she's got a lot of nice things going on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the depth of field, okay, it's handled pretty well. The sunflowers closer to us, feel closer to us, and there's sharper edges and things. There's nice color in the sky, fairly soft edges. The background doesn't really compete and want to come forward with the foreground. So overall, you would say, okay, successful painting. It worked out, right? But it, it's not one of those paintings that just like floor you and wow you, right?
Yeah, because all the stems were going straight up, and they all kind of have the same color.
Yeah. So it could be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, this is 2012, and I don't know how long she had been painting at that point. In 2012 is what, 10 years ago. Well, not quite, 9 years ago. But here she is a little more recently.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the size. Look at the size of that
big painting.
That's a big painting. Okay. And the thing is, she does, kind of medium, smaller things. But most of her studio work and stuff is kind of about that scale now. And she's doing big stuff. And, when you take, a tightly cropped subject like a flower and you blow it up to that size, it's going to kind of command a little bit of presence, there. And so, I'm just going to kind of come, thumb you through a few of these and just try to imagine these, at a big scale, right? These are not little 5x7 paintings. These are, well, they may be 5x7, but 5x7 feet instead of 5x7 inches, right? And just look at the, really, really subtle, beautiful transitions of color and value. And again, she took what she knew, she's added to it, and she's kind of working on a different level now. See? And so, she's doing these big, paintings, really nice compositions, beautiful effect of light, and transition of color, really good at managing color so that things don't compete. The background's not trying to come forward and fight with, the focal point of the flower. And like I said, she does a lot of these flowers. Again, all pretty big. There for a while she was doing, like pretty conventional, compositions. But this is kind of where she's at, these days, is more on, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Georgia O'Keeffe's work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, a different feel to it, but similar subject matter, and using the canvas and the space, kind of the same way. Now there's, one of her more traditional kind of conventional paintings, and that was probably kind of mid-process. See, and
Is she mostly painting from life, or does she do photography and then paint from the photography?
Well, I think she does both. I think she, she'll photograph, and I showed you some of the photographs earlier. She'll meticulously set up a still life, with flowers and everything else. And she'll, play with the arrangement and photograph it. And then she'll go back in and, settle on the final composition and set it back up, light it, paint from life and from the photography as well. But she's such a good photographer, and anytime that she settles on a composition, when she's taking photographs, she does what we call bracketing her photos, so that, she'll take one for value overall, and then, convert it to a black and white so she could just see the value structure. And then she'll do different exposures so that she can bring out different parts of the light and shadow. She'll shoot one for the light, one for an overall, and then one for the shadows. So again, she can begin to see color and detail, in those areas. And actually, I think I've got an example of that to show you. Let's see. Very different feel to them, right? Again, really nice surfaces and textures and very soft light in this piece, but again, it doesn't have the impact, that, focusing in, on that small area. She's a very good, competent painter. Yeah. Now this has got to be a smaller painting if you kind of compare the scale of the signature to the flower. So this is probably not more than an 11 by 14, something like that. Now, here's what I was saying. So, she set up this still life, and then, she took a whole series of photos and she bracketed her photography, and then she's got it set up so she can see these different exposures, as she's developing the painting. And can somebody tell me what process she's using? Is she an alla prima painter, or is she a traditional process painter? You guys should know this.
I don't.
Huh?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I know it's not alla prima.
No, it is not. No, it's a traditional process painting. Because what is she doing? She's developing an underpainting, right?
She uses like only one color, lighter and darker, but only one color.
Yes, it's called a grisaille or an underpainting. We've talked about that many times, Armando. I'm shocked and amazed that you don't know that that's a traditional painting.
Well, 75, I forget everything.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna now see. We're gonna now we're gonna play the age card, right?
Amanda, you know what group you're in. You can't pull that age card on us.
I know.
You can't pull that on. Just go to the next group.
Yeah, you gotta get around the church, where you're around a bunch of younger people for that one.
Yeah, this is the wrong group here.
That is the wrong to go try that one on. So again, she's using a traditional painting process, right? So she's building an underpainting, and then she's beginning to layer, color over that and build up her color, right? And so, you get some idea, of her process there. More roses. she got a thing for roses. She really does.
Definitely does.
Yeah. But, you know, hey, you know, she's, you know, she sells a good deal of work. You know, she really does. Again, you know, not a small painting. Look at the size of that easel. You know, that's a, what do they call that? A Santa Fe. That's like a big easel. That easel right there is pretty much so about 48 inches wide. Just
It
And
looks
it almost touches the ceiling.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the scale on that, you can put a 15 or 16 foot tall canvas on that easel.
Whoa.
So, yeah, that's a big boy. That's a easel.
Now, those flowers are cherry blossom?
Yeah, they might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might be cherry blossoms. Yeah. So, and again, you know,
Did you see her color palette on that last picture?
you mean this one right here? Yeah.
The bottom right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. You want me to blow that up? I can do that. Yeah. So you see, she's kind of working with a range of violets, reds,
Yeah.
to green. Yeah. So, you know, dividing her palette, warm side, cool side.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, all the warm stuff over here, all the cool stuff over there. So as she's mixing, you know, she's separating those out so that they don't, you know, end up making mud, you know, as she's mixing color. One of the big mistakes that I see a lot of people just beginning painting do is as they're mixing on their palette, you know, they'll put color everywhere. You know, they'll put cool dark colors over here and mix it next to like a light color. And it's like, how are you supposed to keep your colors really clean if you've got them kind of all mushing together like that? So, you know, being organized, you know, and setting up, you know, the colors in a sequence, you know, from warm to cool. And then as you mix, you know, if you know that it's going to be a darker, cooler color, keep it over on the cooler side. If you know it's going to be a darker, warmer color, keep it on the warm side, or even a lighter warm color. You know.
What are those pieces of colored paper or petals or something on the table? What is that?
Oh, those are just, that's a piece of glass. And, you know, she
Oh, I
usually,
see.
yeah, she'll pull paint out of here and she'll remix it, you know, to modify it. You know, she'll put something up there and it's not quite right. You know, she'll take it, put it on the table, and this is glass and it's got a gray background.
I see.
So she's working on that kind of that mid-tone. And she'll actually get a better read on the color and temperature on this than she will on, evidently she's using like white palette paper here. And, you know, the reason she's probably doing that is, yeah, she's mixing some of the color here, but mainly this closes up and it will keep her paint wet a little bit longer. But she's transferring paint from here to actually do the final mixing in most cases, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so we saw that. Okay. Again, you know, this is a smaller little study. So, but same process. See, she's going back in, you know, putting a tone down, lifting out. See, again, you know, these are the more kind of traditional pieces she did. Okay. Now, at some point, you know, she hadn't quite settled on flowers, and so, you know, she started doing some more kind of narrative, you know, trying to be different, you know, type strange, you know, cantaloupe and the moon, you know, it's like, okay. Salvador Dali, you know, have your cantaloupe in the middle of a desert, right?
With the moon in the background?
Uh-huh, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I mean, you know, we all do that. We all try things, you know, experiment. You know, she did a figurative piece. This is actually, I think it's one of the, I don't see her do many figurative pieces, you know, period. You know, mainly it's flowers and portraits and things like that. But, you know, I played with this idea, you know, a backlit figure, you know, many, many times before. And, you know, it's a good idea. It's, you know, a lot of different ways of interpreting that. I can't quite make out what this is all about. It's somewhere between an egg with a nipple on it and hovering over a body of water.
Maybe a cantaloupe.
No, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Egg, that's a lemon.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like one too. Yeah.
yeah, I have no idea. Anyway.
I like that though, believe it or
Oh,
not.
yeah, no, it has a very kind of
Yeah.
calming,
Yeah.
kind of a calming sense and effect to it, doesn't it? You know,
Yeah.
and
The
color,
water droplets.
yeah, color is beautiful in it and stuff. But yeah, but again, we try things, you know. She does a lot of charcoal, you know, a lot of charcoal studies and things too. Yeah. There's that piece of glass you were asking about, Eloise. And see, you know, she's just mixing on the glass there.
Right.
A good idea.
How she glued those things on that wood or whatever canvas piece is. She glued it.
Well, this is the top of a table, and she had a piece of glass cut for it. And the glass sits, you know, inside the frame of the table. So it doesn't move around. And then she's put a gray piece of paper under it so that she's mixing on a mid-tone neutral background, because it will help her see the color and the value and the intensity.
Yeah, but she glued those pieces on that table, or just put it there.
Yeah, I don't know that she had to glue them. You know, the glass itself is probably heavy enough. You know, it's a nice piece of glass, so it's got enough weight. It's not going to slide off the table. And like I said, the table has an edge or a frame, you know, to hold that glass in place. So
Those colors that's her palette, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you kind of want to talk about that, you can kind of look at it. Now she takes the violet, you know, and she moves it up here with the reds, you know. Again, you look at a color wheel as a circle, right? You know, this end and this end sort of, you know, meet up and touch. But, you know, using those cooler temperature reds, and then she moves into warm. And for whatever reason, she puts her neutrals in the middle, and then she puts her yellows out here on the outside, yellows and whites. You know, different people organize things differently, but you know, if that works for her, that's fine. But you know, mainly painting what she's painting, which are flowers. You know, she needs that wide range of red to violet, because a lot of those flowers have those colors in there. And if you're using just a 3-color limited palette, you know, you're probably not going to be able to get that range, you know, of warm and cool. So you know, where I would have a warm and a cool red, you know, she's got about 3 generally warmer reds and 3 generally cooler reds. And so
if you try to mix that much paint and you're using acrylic, by the time you get around to it, you'll be picking up paint flecks.
Oh yeah, you would. Yeah, with acrylics, it would be kind of a different deal. Though I do know acrylic artists who, you know, will take and they'll add what they call retarder to their acrylic paint. And rather than working on a palette like this, they've got a setup where they have jars, you know, these small jars they'll pre-mix their reds and things with the retarder and put it in the jar. And then they'll just sit and work right out of the jar, but they'll have it pretty much so organized the same way, you know, with all their colors up and down the line. And they'll just, you know, lift the lid off, you know, get a little paint with a palette knife, put it out on the palette, you know, cover it back up, get whatever other colors they need out there and start mixing. But that retarder, if you mix it correctly, should keep that acrylic paint wet for about, you know, 5 to 6 hours.
Or a mister.
That's only because it's in a jar, because the little bit about retarder that I've read, it says only give you more than what you already have. So if it's normally 15 minutes, you still got only 25 minutes. So I guess the jar is when that comes into play.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I think you're going to get more than 25 minutes out of it. I mean, I've used retarder, and I usually get,
okay.
And, you know, I usually get a couple of hours, you know, out of that paint. Now, you know, Eloise just asked a good question. Well, how about a mister? Well, the problem with a mister, Eloise, is that as soon as you start putting water into that paint, then you're breaking down the viscosity of it. And so it doesn't have the adhesion qualities that straight paint does. So I, you know, in using acrylics, I always, unless I want like a very watercolory wet effect to it, I'll try to keep the water out of it. I only use the water to clean my brush, and then I'll use a medium or, you know, retarder or things with just straight paint, you know, to paint with the acrylic. Yeah, because again, you know, water sounds like a good idea. It's a good idea for cleaning your brush, but it's not a good idea to actually mix paint that way, because then you start, like I said, you start breaking down the adhesive qualities to the paint itself. And a long time ago, well, we're talking a long time ago, you know, we're talking 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago, when you used acrylic, it wouldn't make any difference, because no matter what you did to the acrylic, you'd put it down and it would look nice and painterly. And by the time it dried, it would just be as flat as a sheet, because, you know, it didn't, as the water evaporated out of it, you know, that's one of the things about acrylic. It's what they call a long chain polymer. And when it's wet, kind of think of spaghetti, right? You know, it's like all these strands that are all kind of mixed together like that. Well, that creates that raised kind of bumpy surface of the paint. Well, with long chain paint polymers, what happens is as they dry, you know, instead of being, you know, going in all different directions, as they dry, they line up and they lay down. And that's what flattens acrylic out, is the fact that it's made out of these long chain polymers. So what they've done to counteract that over the years is that they've reformulated acrylics, and they've made it, you know, as having a heavier body. So they've added things to the acrylic to keep it, you know, where it has more body to the paint. So if you go out and let's say that you buy just about any store brand of paint, either like Binders, Blick, Utrecht, any of those acrylic paint, most of those have a medium in them already mixed, so that the viscosity and the body of them are heavier, and so that they won't lay down as they dry out. And so that really kind of helps the look of the paint and keep it, you know, more painterly feeling. But as soon as you start adding water to it, you've just undone all of that.
I see.
You know, whether you've misted it or whatever. Now, one thing I will do, and rather, because I tend not to mix acrylic and, you know, put them in jars. You know, what I'll do is I'll mix up a batch of acrylic color with a retarder, you know, and then I'll scrape it up off the palette and put it in a pile, and I'll put it on a paper towel that's damp. And I'll just set the paint on top of it. And so that way it will kind of wick moisture up through it and keep it wet longer. But
Okay.
yeah, a lot of times, you know, I can have a with the combination of retarder and with that damp paper towel that I placed, that acrylic paint will stay wet for 2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay. I have to try that.
Yeah.
Do you think that she actually paints from these tiny brushes on large paintings, or she's just got that set up for a small painting? I noticed the puddles on the palette are kind of large.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say she's probably working, you know, probably not on a really big painting there. But again, you know, I don't know where she's at. You know, she could be in the stage where she's just going back in and finishing. And so she'll need, you know, smaller tools to lay in more refined areas and things. You know, it's most, you know, she's doing a traditional process painting. So she's not working on that same painting all at one time. You know, she may be working on it over several weeks, several months. And so at different stages of the process, you know, you may use, you know, different size brushes and different tools, you know. So she's probably more in the finishing stage. Rather, you know, if you were in the blocking in stage, most of those brushes would probably be pretty big, pretty broad. So if we covered her palette enough?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is actually a charcoal drawing of her. And it looks like her, you know, she's got a good likeness of herself. So, but it's kind of that, she looks like she's trying to, you know, basically emulate that process that Casey Bow, you know, demonstrates a lot with that, you know, different types of charcoal, you know, starting with the charcoal powder and then soft fine charcoals and then building it up to harder edges. That's a portrait of her daughter. It's got kind of an intense look to her as well.
Very.
Yeah. I think she gets that from her mother. So this is a portrait, you know, that she's working on. And again, you know, pretty good sized piece. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and we'll get to it a little bit further on, is notice the background on this canvas. It looks very similar to that little test piece that I did, you know, over the weekend. You notice the texture of it, and it's got kind of a toothy look to it, doesn't it? A kind of a rough, uneven surface. So see, she prepped that canvas, you know, before she ever started painting, you know, the figure on top of it. You know, just to kind of create an interesting background.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Not a big portrait, but you know, really, really nicely done.
I see the Schmid influence on the background.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Richard shows up all over her work. You know. Yeah, yeah. Now this is kind of interesting. I unfortunately the way these were numbered, they don't come together in a sequence. But I wanted to kind of show you this. Now this is a charcoal drawing, you know, little, you know, African-American child. You know, very kind of intent look, right? Now I'm gonna jump around here a little bit because I need to go down here and find the painting. So this is the drawing. Well, actually, this is kind of one of the early drawings. There you go. Now you see that's one of those tonal sketches on a canvas. See, so she laid down the tone, she lifted out, and so she's got, you know, an underpainting, right? And so that's kind of the foundation. Let's see. And so then she starts laying in, you know, another passage of paint over, you know, that underpainting, right? You can see where she's beginning to model, let's see, model and build up, you know, her skin tones. And she must have done this as a demonstration for her class or something like that. Because normally, I mean, you wouldn't paint one side of the face and leave the other side unfinished. But again, you know, she's just beginning to kind of bring up some of the color and temperature in here. And then, so that's the completed, you know, piece. But she's got a nice sense of luminosity to the flesh tones. You know, they don't look muddy and you know, unnatural. So. Yeah. Come on, bigger, bigger. Not cooperating with me. There we go. So notice how, notice how the focus, all the sharp edges are right here in sort of the middle, you know, the front plane of the face. And then as she goes, you know, back around to the side planes, everything begins to get soft. So, no hard edges out here on the outside, right? You know, even along the jawline. See, she kind of blurred and softened that just a little bit, so that it you know, it doesn't compete in any way with the sharper edges, you know, in on the features of the face right now.
What did you call that area that encompasses the eyes and nose and mouth, or just eyes and nose? You had a name for it?
Well, yeah, it's yeah, the front plane of the face.
What?
The front, yeah, the frontal plane of the face.
Okay. Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
See, that's the front plane versus side plane, or top, or we can't see the bottom in this case. So, you know, think of it as a box, right? It has two sides and a front, and maybe we can see part of the top, maybe not, right? Maybe we can see part of the bottom, maybe not. But you're going to see, you know, at least, you know, two of those planes.
They charge something. I noticed that she spelled her name without H.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, like a Spanish way.
Okay.
All right.
What
Yeah.
was that he just said?
Yeah, it's, well, it's, yeah, she's got M-A-R-T-A, like Marta,
Oh, okay.
rather than Martha, but her,
Yep.
you know, her name on Facebook is Martha, you know, so, you know, I went with that. At any rate, let's go back up here, and I'll just kind of go through some of these, you know, fairly quickly, but, you know, she does some very nice work. Again, charcoal. Yeah, she likes people with interesting faces.
Love that picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very intense. You know. It's kind of a nice emotional quality to that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, yeah, here's a detail. Now, you know, to me, he's a little bit stiff, you know. I I don't think that's one of her better portraits, but I really like that one.
Mhm.
You know, the guy's got a lot more character in his face, but you know, also just the paint, you know, the painting technique, I think is better done. Really nice, you know, use of color all throughout, you know, the face, warmth and cools. But you know, she maintains the value structure and the intensity. You know, handles it really, really nicely. So. Like I said, she spent, you know, a fair amount of time in Spain, and in fact, she's got a lot of the reference photos and things that she's got are from a town in Spain. Yeah, we saw the drawing of this guy. There's the final painting. And again, you know, really, you know, just beautiful use of color. You know, in the flesh tones and the hair. If you notice, there's, you know, kind of these violet, you know, gray violet against sort of the yellow direct complements. It's a subtle thing, but it's important. Really pretty painting.
She's really good at blending skin tones.
Mhm.
They look so real.
Yeah, they've got a lot of life to them, you know. And that's the thing, you know, you see a lot of people paint people's faces, and at the end of the day, they just look dead. They look like they're plastic, you know. And you don't want that. You know, that is not a desirable effect to make them look like they were a cadaver when you painted them. Just not what you want to do. So again, you know, really interesting character. You know, beautifully done drawing. So, and this is her and one of the commissions that she did. So we got her modeled there. And as you can see, you know, the painting is just about life size, just about 1-to-1. And what do I keep telling you about portraits? It's not a portrait unless it's a 1-to-1 ratio or larger. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know you said that.
Yeah. Anything. Yeah. When you paint a portrait, you want to paint somebody's face. You want to paint it life size, which is the size of your hand or larger. If it's smaller than your hand, it's not a portrait. It's a figure study. And the reason being, the only way that you can really get accurate measurement is if you do it at about life size. That's it.
So a 10 by 12 is not permitted, or not called a portrait, right?
Well, if it depends, you know, on the scale of the face. Now, if you put somebody's face on a 10 by 12 or an 11 by 14, pretty much so it's going to fill up the whole space. Now, if you've got a head and shoulders and down to their waist on a 11 by 14, no, that's a figure study. Because there's no way that you could get, you know, a good accurate representation, you know, of that and a good likeness of them at that scale. If you're off by just a little bit, you know, by a little brush mark, you know, by the time you scale that up to life, you're a ½ inch off. You've got their nose a ½ inch or an inch longer than it is. So
So those people who think a portrait should be less costly at a smaller size, like you're buying food,
Oh,
are mistaken, right?
they're idiots. Look, when you're trying to paint a face and you're painting it less than full size, guess what? That makes it harder. That doesn't make it easier. Okay.
Definitely.
That just makes it a lot more difficult, you know? Yeah, portraiture, and really a lot of art, any kind of commission art is really based, it's not on size, it's on complexity. See, you always price your work based on, how complicated it is to make this. How many more hours am I going to have to work at this project because this person wants it on an 18 by 24 rather than putting it, on a 20 by 30 canvas.
So what do you think she would charge for this portrait?
Oh, I think she's probably getting a good, probably about 6,000 to 8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah. And if she's getting less than that, then she's giving it away. And I'm sure she's not. So, as I said, she's a fairly successful artist. She's making work and she's selling work and she's doing okay. As I said, she kind of strikes me as just maybe being a little intense, Yeah, there's that background again. I was talking about. And so, when she does portraits and stuff like this, she'll prep a background, and it's really interesting. It's almost like making an abstract painting, and she'll really, kind of put in like a lot of these, textures and surfaces, and then work into it. There's the portrait in question. We saw the little girl. So, I like this guy. He's got kind of a very interesting, intense look to him. But again, just the modeling and the flesh tone and understanding of the structure. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Nicely handled stuff. Anyway. All right, well, let's not leave this out. Okay, so, this was on her site. We all know this guy, Somewhere within all of us is a wordless center, a part of us that hopes to be immortal in some way, a part that has remained unchanged since we were children, the source of our strength and compassion. This faint confluence of the tangible and the spiritual is where art comes from. It has no known limits. And once you tap into it, you'll realize what truly rich choices you have. May each painting you do from that sacred place include an expression of gratitude for the extraordinary privilege of being an artist. And that was a quote from Richard Schmid. Actually, I think that's out of his Alla Prima book.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then let's see. Being an artist means forever healing your own wounds and at the same time endlessly exposing them. That is true. That is really, really true. Yeah, you can, if you're a visual artist, you're not hiding. You can't hide anything. It's out there. It's in the work. And then if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or objects. And that was Albert Einstein. And again, there's a lot of wisdom in that. Each and every one of us, we need to kind of make a decision about what are we here for in life? What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to achieve? And regardless of people around you, as much as you love them, hate them, whatever, it's you got to kind of look at the bigger picture. And each day you got to get up and do what you do. Because, you know, if you're doing this art thing, all I can tell you is a lot of people are not going to get it. You know, they don't understand, you know, why it is that you have to take days and sometimes weeks and hours of time and focus on what you're doing. And you can't go out and, you know, do other stuff and play and things like that. So it's sad but true. Anyway, here's one of her still lives. And I'm going to jump on down here because we need to wrap this up. But, you know, the portrait of that young boy, you know, the real big canvas that she was at, that's the base. That's the background for that portrait. Now look at the texture in that, in the surface on it, and how she built up, you know, layers of gesso and then, you know, washes of color and stuff to really kind of create this really kind of rich, interesting background in there. And so, you know, that acts as her, you know, her base, her mid-tone, you know, to begin to work from there. And so, you know, just having that as a starting point, you know, and then working, you know, the face and the figure over it, you know, just to add kind of another layer of interest, you know, to the painting itself. There it is laying down while she's prepping the canvas. So yeah, she builds up, you know, quite a few layers. And again, see how she brackets her photography, and then she does a small, my guess is that that's probably by about a 6x8 or something like that. So, you know, she does a little color study before she gets into doing like a big painting. So by the time that she gets to that canvas, you know, she's got a pretty good idea about what she's going to do. You know, it's not at that point a guessing game. It's just a matter of, you know, executing it. You know, getting the paint up there and getting it laid down the way she wants to. And see, when you approach it from that standpoint, where you have done the foundation work and you understand what you're painting, then it frees you up. So then you can focus and concentrate, you know, on little subtle things like the brushwork and how, you know, how you're going to layer color and how you're going to, you know, manipulate things and play. You know, that's where you really become free to play, because you know what you're doing. You know where you're going. You're not struggling to figure out, you know, does this need to be warmer or cooler? Right? Because you've already done that. You've already done it in your preliminaries and everything else, and you've got that figured out. So can't emphasize that enough. You know, it's that upfront work, you know, that does make all the difference in the world. So that's pretty much so her paintings. Again, you know, phenomenal photographer. You know, I mean, this lady really should just be a photographer, you know. I mean, she's a beautiful painter, but she does nice stuff, you know. Really, really nice photography stuff. You know. If I could get my photography work, you know, to look like a lot of that, I would probably just be a photographer, you know. But I can't, so that's why I paint it, because then I can make it the way I want it. Yeah, this is that little town in Spain that she's evidently, you know, has spent a good deal of time in. It's just like, you know, going through her photographs, you could tell it's like how all of this fits together. And it's kind of like taking a tour of the town. Yeah. But she's got a ton of photographs from there. Just beautiful, yeah. How would you say that, Armando? Oh, Armando's on a break. We caught him.
All right, fell asleep.
Busted. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, we can keep on going with this, but you know, she's got lots and lots of photography. So don't you just want to be someplace like that? Nice and warm, sunny,
Yeah.
nice beach, you know.
Not too many
Absolutely.
people doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, just to be able to sit by the river and look up at that town. And you can tell, you know, this town was probably built, you know, pre-Roman. You know, because where is it at? It's at the top of the hill, right? How do you get there? There's one road, one, and it goes up the side of this hill, right? For you to get into the town. That's the way towns in Europe were built, you know, for good reason, you know. You know, you wanted to be at the top of the hill so you could see who was coming up and down the river or, you know, down the valley. You know, you were up there and they were down there. So you had a bit of an advantage on them at that point. You know, I think these are pretty funny. You know, some of her animal photography. Really good at, you know, capturing animals. This guy, this is a red-crested woodpecker. I don't think he's a pileated woodpecker. You know, I think he's just a red-crested woodpecker. But you don't see that many of those out there these days. But, you know, again, nice stuff. Anybody got any comments about her work or any questions or anything before we?
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Her photography is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't blame you at all. No, she's got some nice stuff, nice work. Really, really beautiful stuff. And, you know, very talented lady, you know, and, you know, she works hard at it, you know?
Yep.
You
got to.
Yeah, she puts in the time, the effort, and it shows. It really does. See? So, how are we doing time-wise? Oop, okay. So,
I'm back. I'm sorry. When I
okay.
had to go, I had to go.
Well, okay. Yeah. Please, we don't need all the details, okay? But you missed your moment in the sun. I was going to ask you something about Spanish pronunciation, but you missed it, man. So, you know, that's on you.
That was 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll get a chance to redeem yourself. You know, interestingly enough, the two women artists that we're looking at, they both have Hispanic backgrounds. You know, Martha Crawford, like I said, I don't think she's Hispanic. I don't know what ethnicity or, you know, what ethnic background she comes from. But she did spend a lot of time in Spain. She studied in Spain. So definitely some influences there. And, you know, and definitely interested in the place and the culture. The next lady we're going to look at, you know, her name is Maria Nash. That's right. Okay. And now Maria is actually from Brazil. You know, she has family in Brazil, and you know, she grew up there, and then now she's, you know, evidently married to, I guess, an American guy, and living here in the U.S. I think she lives somewhere up in the Northeast. It would be my guess. I don't think it's Midwest. I think it's, you know, more Northeast. Probably because of some of the boats and stuff that she paints. But Bernice, you want your moment in the sun? Or no, not Bernice, June. That's who I wanted.
What? Now my feelings hurt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was trying to remember June last week she did a drawing of this girl on a palm tree. Well, I found the palm tree.
Oh, okay.
I found you. See, she had a girl Where's my cursor?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
right here on the palm tree, and we were kind
I
of
remember that.
down, out toward the ocean and stuff. But yeah, I found your palm tree. Anyway,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. So where were they? They were somewhere. Oh, I can't remember exactly where they were, but yeah, out in the like Indian Ocean somewhere out there.
It had to be any tropical country.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about Maria Nash. So again, one of the interesting things about her, she's not quite the caliber of photographer that Martha Crawford was, but she still takes really good reference photos and things. And she has a good eye for composition, and she sees light and shadow very, very well. Now this is one of her paintings. Okay. Now, can you see the influence of any particular artist that you may be familiar with?
Bougereau.
I think it has more to do with this character right here. That's her and Richard Schmid. Okay, and evidently, she's taken quite a bit of time and studied with Richard off and on. And this is actually Richard's studio, and so he's doing a workshop or something there.
Oh, he's there, huh?
Oh yeah, Richard's very good. Unfortunately, he's passed away this year, but yeah, when you look at her brushwork and stuff like that, you can see Richard's influence. Okay. Now, the one thing I'll say about Maria's work, she's not quite as developed and far along as Martha Crawford, but still very strong painter. And like I said, I've been familiar with their work last probably 4 or 5 years on Facebook.
What's the last name?
Nash.
Nash. Okay.
Nash. Maria Nash. But in watching her progress and her develop over the years, her color composition, structure, just how she's loosened up her brushwork, stuff like that, has really been an incredible journey. Just to kind of watch what happens. Let's see. Yeah, there's some of her. This is actually at Richard's farm, Richard Schmid. I think this is as well. Yeah. Yeah. So this is up in Vermont, which is where Richard lived. Here she is, in the studio at Richard's painting. So, but the thing is, you can learn a lot too, in looking at photographs. Look at the setup that she has. I'm not exactly sure who makes that particular plein air box, but I want one. I mean, yeah, it's got a nice big mixing surface and a fairly good size area to carry a canvas or a panel. And then it looks lightweight, and it sits on a lightweight tripod. And of course, she's got paper towels and cup holders.
Yes, paper towel holder.
Yeah, and it's all there, so you can just kind of open it up and you're ready to rock and roll and paint. And yeah, it's kind of a nice setup there. So I'm gonna have to do some research on that. But like I said, she's a pretty good photographer. I mean, that's down in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could talk all day about this particular photo from the Empire State Building, right? Okay. Yeah, a lot of 3-point perspective there. You guys' favorite subject, right? Run quick. Yeah, but this is pretty typical of she does a lot of plein air landscape. pretty good, you know. I mean, you can see kind of some of the influences of Richard's. Yeah, yeah. There's a nice little concept piece. That wasn't a painting; that was a photograph. Yeah, her front yard. Let me get down here to. Yeah, so there's that painting that we started off looking at. But, you know, in looking at her work, you know, she does a lot of, again, little studies like these lemons. You know, those are probably no more than like on a 6x8 canvas. You know, so again, you know, it's that process of going through and kind of doing something, experimenting with it, trying it before you get committed. You know, this is a self-portrait. And again, you know, just kind of a preliminary thing. She didn't take it to a finish. She's got kind of enough. It's like, okay. And then, you know, she can always go forward and do more. Let's see. That's one of her reference photos. But again, you know, this really kind of begins to feel like Richard's work, you know, when he does architecture and stuff like that. Very, very similar to that. Let's see. We've got lots of reference photos here. Let's see. A lot of stuff from Brazil. Let's just get down to her work. I think that's, yeah. Now, look at the brushwork in that. Yeah, I mean, that's very, very indicative of, you know, Richard Schmid's process. And when you look at it, you know, the feathered edges, you know, to the brush strokes. That's your son. Again, you know, just the, again, that's probably not a very large painting, you know, maybe an 8x10, something like that. You know, it's a little study. But look at the transition, the color. Where's my ear? So look how warm the light is. And then we talk about, okay, if it's warm light, it's going to be what kind of shadow?
Cool.
Cool.
And are all of the temperatures over here cooler than the light?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, even that red right there, red.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, red being cooler than yellow.
No, that's true.
Yeah, it's cooler. So see, the temperature over here is overall cooler than the light. See, now you could have cool light and then all the shadows would be warm, right? So, you know, it's always just the opposite. But a really, you know, really nice control and balance, you know, of keeping, you know, the temperatures cooler in the shadows, warmer in the light. And again, not a finished painting, you know, just a preliminary study. But, you know, sometimes those studies are, you know, they become these beautiful little things, you know, all into themselves. Because just being able to demonstrate your understanding of a concept or a principle like that is kind of a feat all into itself. But again, you know, more flowers. And again, the brushwork is Richard Schmid all over the place. Now here's a picture of the artist playing a different artist. Anybody recognize who she's dressed up as?
Frida?
Yeah, Frida Kahlo. And she pulls it off well. Of course, you know, having a Hispanic background, you know, probably helps that too. But yeah. But look at the composition on that. Just really nice, you know, just a small area of light in there. And all, it's kind of like, you know, she's got like a half circle here for your eye just to kind of move around. And then all the rest of this just kind of falls back into shadow. And it's there. And even though, look, you see, this is the foreground. this is the close, you know, some of the closest things to us. And so she has a good amount of contrast in there in value. You know, there's a fair amount of contrast in temperature, but how does she manage to keep us from focusing on this area and get our eye to kind of move up in here?
Contrast.
Yeah, but what kind of contrast? There are 5, right? We already, already talked about value, temperature. What else?
Color.
Yeah, possible color. How about intensity and edges?
Yeah. It took time for her to paint all the details of those leaves and flowers and the ground.
Yeah, but the thing is, see, and this is the beauty of it, there's not that much detail. There's a suggestion that detail is there, right? This is all pretty loose paint up here. You know, there's not a lot of, you know, there's not a lot of futzing around, you know, and.
But she painted the shape of the leaves in many parts.
Yeah, yeah, she did. You know, she gave you kind of an idea of the shape, and that tells you what kind of plant that was. But you see, look at this flower. Is that a flower? No. You know, she's got kind of an undertone, and then she's got a little bit of richer color on top of it, just laid down. And it just tells you that, okay, there are petals on that flower. She didn't do every one. See, she gave you just enough to suggest that there's a flower there. But she didn't go and paint every one because she knew that if she did that, that it would take your focus off of these. And it's really these 2 flowers right here that are the focal point. See, they have the sharper edges. They have certainly some intense color in them, right? Yeah. Scale-wise, you know, when you begin to look at them, they're bigger than all the things around it. So that begins to move them forward, you know, like they're coming toward you. And then down in this area where, you know, she has these leaves that are actually, you know, probably closer to us. You see, she put them in there, but she also didn't leave a sharp edge on there. You know, she softened it. Again, so our focus isn't here, it's up here. And it's just little things like that, you know, little choices about, you know, how you're going to manage, you know, those edges that can really make a huge difference, you know, in the work that you're doing and making it read the way you want it to. Again, you know, just a little teapot. And again, you know, she probably put that in another still life or something like that, but she just painted it as a little study so that she would kind of have a feel for what she was trying to accomplish. At home in the winter, that's not a painting, that's a photograph. And when it snows like that, see, if it looked out, you know, if we looked out our windows and saw that, we would be at home painting a still life too. Because most of us would not want to go out in that. You know, there's way too much snow for me at this point.
I'm used to that kind of snow.
Yeah, I've been in that, and I'm done. You know, I'm like over it. So, you know, but really nice kind of layering of paint. Again, you know, I love looking at, you know, her flower studies, because, you know, you can see her kind of getting in there and really looking for the structure and just, you know, trying to get the structure of the flower down and understand it. And it's like every one of these that she does, it kind of sticks in her brain. And it's just like painting figures. It's like after a while, it becomes easier because you know what to look for. You know, you know, you're familiar with it. So, let's see, somebody's got a question. Let's see. Okay, yeah, all right, that's Wanda. Wanda's leaving us, so. Okay, another little teapot. So, you know, really nice stuff. Look at the brushwork in there. Yeah, that is like so Richard Schmid. I mean, just so Richard Schmid. One of my favorite flowers, a peony. All right, yeah. Now, evidently, you know, this woman likes to garden. She's got a beautiful garden, you know, around her house. Beautiful flowers, stuff like that. But, yep, you see that teapot? We saw the study for it, and here it is in the final painting. See, the only way that she would have known, you know, how to lay those paint strokes on there with all that pattern and everything else, you know, which is really kind of competing, was to do those studies, you know, just kind of test it out, you know, get familiar with it. And she may have done a couple of those before she, you know, finally figured out a final solution for it. But she did, and then it ended up in her painting. So you got to do the work. That's Brazil. Let's see. Let's get down here to. We got to go way down here. Let's just get to her paintings and just look at those. Yeah. But, you know, I talk a lot about painting flowers and how much I run screaming, you know, from painting flowers. It's not my thing. But you can learn a lot, you know, from trying to do that. Yeah. This is her son again now. We looked at the study. Now look at the final painting. And you see where she took what she learned in the study into the final painting. You know? And the only difference really between the two is, you know, probably the size of it, but also the, you know, just the finish and the subtlety. So she, you know, again, you know, it's like she took her preliminary work and incorporated it into the final. A little plein air piece. See. Now, a lot of us going outside and trying to paint something like that, that would just be absolute chaos. But, you know, she's pretty good at, you know, separating things out. This is kind of interesting. This is, you know, a foundation for, now this is not her actually. This is another artist. This is TJ Cunningham. And I put this in here because I found it on Facebook. So here's a kind of an elongated landscape. And so you see how he laid it out in charcoal, you know, just to get his big major lines. And then from there, he started blocking in. Yeah. And so he laid in big color blocks to get the light and shadow. And then he went back in and just, you know, kind of polished it up, finished it. Really beautiful painting. So, you know, he's another one of those guys you guys could look up.
It's like Stone Mountain, no? Oh, no.
Yeah, I think he's up in Vermont. So I don't think it's Stone Mountain. Anyway, there's Richard again. Let's see. Yeah, so there's another one of her flowers. Let's see. You know, here she is, you know, out, you know, plein air painting. And again, you know, just kind of nice, you know, I mean, that's what she ended up with. That's what she started with. photo. Yeah, unfortunately, this is a very low resolution photo. Can't talk, but beautifully done. You know, just a really nice sense of light and movement in there. And Armando, where's all the detail in there?
Well, she didn't do much detail. You know, the faces of the people are kind of blurred.
Right. Yeah. What do you think she did that?
I don't know.
You think she was just clumsy handling the brush, or?
No, maybe she made us to, you know, figure it out exactly what is.
Yeah, there, you know, that argument has some validity to it. How about this though? Maybe that's not where she wanted you to look. Maybe the people are not the focal point. Maybe the people are just sort of add to the environment. Maybe
the sunlight.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the focal point is right here, Armando.
Yeah, the sunlight, they come through the tree branches.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? That's where she wanted you to look. You know, the two girls on the bench and, you know, the people walking in the background. That's just kind of, you know, window dressing. You know, they add to the story, but that's not what it was about. It was really about the light, you know, kind of coming through those trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about, you know, being an artist. You can make those choices about, okay, yeah, I've got all this stuff going on. You know, do I want to focus on the girls? Maybe not. You know, maybe the thing is about the light. So, same thing here. You know, this is, you know, not a finished painting. This is a little plein air.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it screams Richard Schmid all over it. You know, it just, you know, so much his brushwork and process.
It's too bad to follow another painter style.
No. Every painter who has ever painted before has followed somebody. Even Picasso. I mean, Picasso, you know, I mean, now, you know, you take those tools, you take those ideas and concepts and things, and you are constantly struggling to make them your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to learn them from somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to look at people like Sororia, you got to look at Picasso, you got to look at, you know, Monet, Degas, you know, and about, you know, 200 other painters. And about the time that you become really, really almost intimately familiar with 200 painters' work, then you have a pretty good idea of what painting is, you know, kind of all about. You got some tools in your back pocket you can pull out and play with, if you can kind of, you know, think of them at the time while you're doing it. That's the other trick. So look at that old barn. Yeah. That's you know, a lot like Richard Schmid. So anyway, she's got some really nice stuff. You know, her figures and things I don't think are as competent as you know, Martha Crawford that we looked at earlier today. But again, you know, she has come over the years, you know, just watching her work develop, she's come really, really a long way. So, Richard again. This is Richard's wife, Nancy Guzik. And Nancy is really the one known for painting flowers, even though Richard painted beautiful flowers and stuff. He's still alive. But if you really want to see some floral paintings, Nancy Guzik, I think it's Juzik. It's her last name. And now that woman can paint some flowers. She does really, really beautiful floral type stuff. And nice landscapes too. So, you know, another person, you know, that her still lifes and things kind of remind me of. They're a little busier than his, but you know, Pushman. You know, Hopsev Good Pushman. We looked at his work maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. You know, so her still life work, you know, kind of reminds me of his as well. There's influences there. Yeah, Bob, you got something that you wanted to throw in?
Yeah. Sidebar, Martha Crawford, born in Madrid, Spain.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Nice figure study. See, very loose, but let's see. Paintings. Yeah. Yeah. Not a very big painting. So, you know, probably a 5x7, something like that. Not much bigger than that. So, but yeah, that's your garden again. All right. So that, yeah, I guess that's kind of about it. Any thoughts about, you know, her work? Maria Nash?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Bernice. Yep. Okay. All right.
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, she's got some really, really nice work, you know. And again, you know, it's nice to be able to see somebody kind of make progress over a number of years, and you know, working with different artists, and you know, picking up, you know, different ideas, concepts. You know, it's, you know, I think in the end, any of us as an artist, you know, we end up being who we are because of the influences that we surround ourselves with. You know, it's like the more knowledge we get, you know, the more that we learn from other people and see their work and stuff, it influences what we do, you know, whether it's, you know, direct and conscious or whether it's unconscious. You know, there's little, you know, basically we're sponges, you know, every visual sponge is really, you know, it's kind of everything we see has some impact on us, and then, you know, you kind of take it and you tuck it away. It's something that was really kind of wonderful and rich and delicious and juicy, you know, about the way that person used color or paint or composition, and then you know, you kind of store it away in the back of your head back there, and then as you need it, again, whether consciously or unconsciously, it pops up, and it helps you solve those day-to-day issues of trying to paint something. So, anyway, that's my thought for the day.
All right.
So
we're gonna see you tomorrow afternoon.
Yep, you will.
2 p.m.
And some of you, I've already gotten emails from quite a few of you with your drawings and stuff in it. So I will have them gathered up. If you want to send in some more stuff, you know, do not wait till, you know, like 1:45 to send an email, okay? At 2 o'clock. You know.
Maybe they would.
Yeah. Chances are when you ask me, it's like, well, I sent stuff in, you know, I don't see it. Well, when did you send it in? Oh, like 1:37, 1:45. Well, no wonder. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
We'll send you something.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, you know. Okay. Anyway, happy Monday, everybody. Start of a new week. Okay. Let's all be productive. Richard, I'm glad to see you made it. Okay. You finally got online. I got a couple of emails from you saying, well, not directly from you, but where you were getting onto Zoom. but you were joining the wrong class on the wrong day at the wrong time. Okay, you got to use the right link. Okay, each day has their own link. So anyway, all right, all you guys take care. We'll
See you all.
Yep, see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.